What if I told you that the woman who built a multi-million-dollar empire while raising 5 kids and transforming hundreds of homes has been living with excruciating chronic pain for over 2 decades? The story I'm about to share will completely change how you see Joanna Gaines and might just save you from making the same life-altering mistake she did in high school. Picture this. It's a typical Friday night football game. The crowd is roaring, the lights are blazing, and 17-year-old Joanna is flying through the air in what should have been a perfect basket toss. But in that split second, everything goes wrong. What happens next would haunt her for the rest of her life and nearly destroy her relationship with Chip before it even began. You see, most people look at Joanna Gaines and see the perfect life, the beautiful farmhouse, the successful business, empire, the adorable family moments on social media. But what they don't see is the woman who's been quietly battling chronic back pain since her cheerleading days, pushing through agony while building one of the most recognizable brands in America. This isn't just another celebrity success story. This is a cautionary tale about the hidden costs of pushing through pain and the dangerous myth that we can do it all without consequences. Let me take you back to that fateful cheerleading practice. The basket toss is cheerleading's most iconic and dangerous stunt. 3 or more cheerleaders lock their hands together, creating a basket, while launching their teammate high into the air. When it works, it's spectacular. When it doesn't, careers can end in an instant. For Joanna, what should have been routine became life-changing. The landing went catastrophically wrong, and she felt something shift in her spine, something that would never fully heal. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Instead of properly addressing the injury, Joanna did what so many of us do. She pushed through it. She minimized it. She told herself it wasn't that bad. Sound familiar? How many times have you ignored warning signs from your body because you had things to do, people to please, dreams to chase? The herniated discs that resulted from that basket toss became Joanna's invisible companion through everything that followed. While she was building her design skills, while she was falling in love with Chip, while she was starting their business, while she was having babies, while she was filming Fixer Upper, through it all, her back was screaming at her to slow down. But she couldn't hear it over the noise of her ambition. And then came 2001, 20 years old, and on the verge of what could have been forever with Chip Gaines. They'd had their first date, and Chip was already smitten. He was planning their second date, probably already imagining their future together, but Joanna's back had other plans. The pain had become unbearable, and she needed her first microdiscectomy, a minimally invasive surgery to relieve the pressure on her herniated discs. Can you imagine? You're 20 years old. You've just met someone who could be the love of your life, and you have to cancel your second date for back surgery. Talk about terrible timing. But here's what's fascinating. Joanna almost didn't give Chip that rain check anyway. She thought he talked too much. Little did she know that this forced break would actually give her the time she needed to really evaluate their connection. Sometimes our setbacks become our greatest gifts in disguise. But the story doesn't end there. Fast forward through decades of building an empire, the little shop in Waco, the first home renovations, the leap to television, the birth of the Magnolia brand. Through it all, Joanna was performing superhuman feats while dealing with chronic pain that most of us can't even imagine. She was climbing ladders, moving furniture, chasing kids, filming television, running businesses, and writing books, all while her spine was basically held together with determination and sheer willpower. Think about that for a moment. Every time you see her effortlessly styling a room or running after her kids in those Instagram videos, remember that she's doing it while managing pain that has required not 1, but 2 major surgeries. This woman redefined what it means to push through adversity, but at what cost? The breaking point came in 2021, and this is where Joanna's story becomes a masterclass in recognizing when success becomes self-destruction. She had reached the pinnacle of her career, multiple businesses, television shows, books, a magazine, a network. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But inside, Joanna was drowning. In her own words from a Magnolia Journal essay, she found herself unbalanced by how much I was pouring out without being poured into in the ways I really needed. This is the moment that separates successful people from those who burn out spectacularly. She realized that she had become like a well that was only knee-deep. It looked fine on the surface, but it couldn't survive a drought. Here's what's brilliant. About Joanna's awakening, she didn't just recognize the problem, she completely restructured her relationship with productivity and success. She started investing in activities that actually fed her soul, instead of just feeding her brand. Reading became medicine, gardening became therapy, cooking became meditation. Time in nature became sacred. For weeks, she immersed herself in books, got her hands dirty in the soil, and filled her kitchen with canning jars as she processed the harvest from her garden. This wasn't procrastination or laziness. This was strategic soul care. She discovered something revolutionary. The more she invested in herself, the more she had to give to everything else. But here's the kicker, and this is where her story becomes almost poetic. Whenever Joanna forgets this lesson and starts pushing too hard again, her back literally forces her to remember. It's like having a built-in wisdom alarm that goes off whenever she's about to repeat old patterns. Her greatest weakness became her greatest teacher. December 2022 brought this lesson home again. 21 years after her first surgery, Joanna found herself back in a hospital bed, preparing for her second microdiscectomy. The timing was brutal. Just 2 weeks before Christmas, in the middle of the holiday season that's sacred to her family. But instead of seeing this as a setback, she chose to see it as a gift. In her Instagram post from the hospital bed, she wrote, "It has been a gift to simply stay put, stare at the wonder all around, and just be still." Read that again. A woman who built an empire on movement, on transformation, on constant creation, calling forced stillness a gift. That's not just maturity, that's wisdom earned through decades of pain. This is where Joanna's story becomes bigger than just one person's journey with chronic pain. This is about all of us who think we can outrun our limitations, who believe that success requires sacrifice of our well-being, who mistake motion for progress and busyness for importance. Joanna Gaines could have let that cheerleading injury define her as a victim. Instead, she let it teach her about resilience. She could have let chronic pain limit her dreams. Instead, she achieved more than most people ever will while managing that pain. She could have hidden her struggles to maintain her perfect image. Instead, she shared them to help others recognize their own warning signs. But most importantly, she learned that true strength isn't about pushing through everything. It's about knowing when to push and when to pause. It's about understanding that taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's strategic. It's about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. No matter how beautiful the cup looks from the outside, the woman who transforms houses for a living had to learn to transform her relationship with her own limitations. The woman who creates beautiful spaces had to learn to create space for her own healing. The woman who fixes everything had to learn that some things can't be fixed. They can only be managed with wisdom and grace. So the next time you see Joanna Gaines creating magic on your screen or in your feed, remember the invisible strength it takes for her to show up. Remember that behind every success story is usually a story of overcoming something that tried to stop them. Remember that your limitations don't have to limit your dreams, but they should inform your strategy. Joanna Gaines didn't just build a business empire despite her chronic pain. She built it because her pain taught her lessons about resilience, balance, and the true meaning of strength that no business school could have provided. Her back may have been broken in that basket, tossed 25 years ago, but her spirit never was. And that's the difference between surviving your setbacks and letting them become your superpowers. The next time your body whispers that you need to slow down, listen. The next time you feel overwhelmed by pouring out more than you're taking in, remember Joanna's knee-deep well. The next time you think strength means never showing weakness, remember the woman who shared her hospital bed selfie to remind us all that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply be still and heal. Because at the end of the day, Joanna Gaines didn't succeed despite her struggles. She succeeded because of how she chose to respond to them. And that's a blueprint we can all follow, whether we're building empires or just trying to build a life that doesn't break us in the process.